Welcome to this deep dive. And what we're tackling a chapter today from the novel Hypersphere.
It's a real doozy. I mean,
It's a lot.
this chapter really lives up to the book's title.
Yeah.
We're dealing with, multiple realities, shifting narratives, and a whole lot of philosophical questions disguised as everything from,
Yeah.
piss bottles to killer queens.
It's a lot to unpack, and it all starts
Yeah.
with this character, Aelius Maximus,
Oh, Aelius Maximus.
Yeah.
She's great.
this superpowered warrior woman.
Yeah, she seems to have stepped straight out of a feminist revenge fantasy.
Totally.
I mean, we find her on Mars,
Right.
leading this ragtag group of men that she calls cowboys.
Yeah.
And her voice just drips with sarcasm and just disdain for all the men around her.
Oh, yeah.
You really pick up on that.
Yeah, and she's armed with this weapon called a womanizer,
Yes.
which is just like over the top.
The womanizer. It's so ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
But it's like the author is using Aelius to satirize gender stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like she's constantly mocking the men's incompetence.
Yeah.
Their inability to do anything right.
It's so over the top.
Yes.
But then right in the middle of all this action,
Yeah.
the chapter takes this sharp turn
Like a record scratch.
into the truly bizarre.
Yes.
We're suddenly hit with this philosophical discussion about bottles,
bottles.
and not just any bottles.
Piss bottles.
Right. And this is where the author introduces the concept of the hypersphere,
Okay.
which is like this central idea to the whole book.
Okay.
Imagine like reality as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a tiny bubble within a much larger system of realities.
Yes. Okay.
And that's the hypersphere.
Okay. So like everything that could possibly exist.
Yes, even things that seem completely outside our understanding.
So even the things we can't even imagine.
Yes, exactly.
So
It's a big concept.
why a piss bottle though?
Well, it's a very deliberate choice.
By the author, I think, to juxtapose the mundane with the profound. The piss bottle represents the everyday,
Uh-huh.
the things we take for granted,
Okay.
while the hypersphere represents the vast unknown that lies beyond our perception.
That's actually a really cool way to think about it.
Yeah.
So even the most ordinary things like a discarded bottle
Right.
are somehow connected to this much larger, multidimensional reality.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
That's what the author's getting at.
It's kind of mind-blowing
Yeah. It is.
when you actually think about it that way.
It is.
And there's this one line that I thought really captured this idea.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
The world we inhabit, this hypertime continuum, figments of mind, is at the very core a system of unjustified subsystems.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's like they're saying that our reality is built on a foundation of things we can't fully explain or justify.
Right. We just accept things as they are without really questioning why they are that way. And the author's trying to get us to think about those why questions.
Yeah, to look beyond the surface.
Exactly.
But before we get too lost in an existential crisis,
Yeah.
the chapter introduces us to a new character,
Oh, who's that?
Bruce.
Bruce. Okay.
And Bruce is obsessed with his Olympic participation medal.
An Olympic participation
It's
medal
okay.
book. Okay.
I mean, it's a little odd.
It is a little strange.
Yeah. But right as we're getting to know Bruce, two more characters,
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Jones and Siree-Bob.
Jones and Siree-Bob.
They burst onto the scene,
Okay.
and they're looking for something called the Wojamba.
The Wojamba.
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
But what I found really interesting about this whole section
Yeah.
was how the characters suddenly become aware of the author.
Really?
Yeah, and they start questioning the nature of the story itself.
Like they know they're in a book?
Yeah, it's like they're breaking the fourth wall
Wow.
and acknowledging that they're part of a fictional construct.
That's meta.
It is.
That's very meta.
It is, but it's...
So we've got a feminist warrior battling on Mars.
Yeah,
A philosophical exploration of the hypersphere.
with a piss bottle.
Yes, with the piss bottle.
On a character obsessed with an Olympic participation medal.
And we're just getting started.
I know.
There's so much more to come.
I can't wait to see where this
Oh,
goes.
you're in for a wild ride.
I'm ready.
Buckle.
I'm buckled.
Okay, good, because this chapter's about to take us into even wilder territory. Hard-boiled detective strange poems.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah!
All right, bring it on.
And just when you think you've got a grip on this chaotic energy, the chapter throws us a curveball.
Yeah.
A hard-boiled detective.
Dick, Michigan.
Dick, Michigan.
Yeah, it's like a totally different world.
It is. It's gritty,
Yeah.
noir-inspired,
Yeah.
full of shadowy figures, double crosses.
Yeah.
But even in this, like, totally separate storyline, the hypersphere, it's still there lurking in the background.
Right, it's like it's affected everything.
Exactly. Dick's world has been completely changed by this discovery of the hypersphere.
Yeah, it's like the author's exploring what would happen if our world suddenly realized that our reality was just one of many.
It's a big question.
Yeah.
And the chapter kind of delves into those darker possibilities.
Yeah, it's not all sunshine and roses.
No, it's not.
Like Dick's being haunted by his ex, Puss Gallivant.
Gus Gallivant, what a name.
I know, right?
She's sending assassins after him.
Yeah, there's a real sense of danger and uncertainty.
Yeah, you really feel like anything could happen.
And then just when we're getting settled into this noir reality,
Yeah.
we're thrown into a series of these rapid-fire vignettes.
It's like whiplash.
1 minute we're reading a poem about a foot race on a sidewalk. The next, we're getting 2 different versions of a man being thrown off a balcony.
It's a lot to process.
It is. It's like sensory overload.
Yeah, I think that's the point the author's trying to disorient us.
It makes us question what we're reading.
Exactly. These vignettes, they're like these little bursts of imagery and ideas.
Yeah.
But they don't really offer any explanations.
It's like the chapters mirroring the hypersphere itself.
How so?
Well, just like the hypersphere is a space where multiple realities coexist,
Yeah,
the chapter jumps between all these different genres and tones and perspectives.
you're right. It's like the author's using the structure of the chapter to reflect the themes of the book.
Yeah. And then we get to the agony ant section.
Oh boy, the agony.
This was wild.
Yeah, the advice is so absurd.
And offensive.
Yeah, it's like the author's satirizing advice columns.
Yeah. And all those like superficial platitudes they offer.
Right, it's like they're saying, oh, your problems are so simple, here's a quick fix.
But real life is way more complicated than that.
Exactly.
But I also wonder if there's a deeper commentary going on here.
Yeah, like about societal norms and expectations.
Right.
It's definitely pushing the boundaries.
And then there's this letter from Harold Bloom.
Oh, yeah, that was something else.
It's just this nonsensical rant about a conspiracy theory.
Full of offensive language.
Yeah, it's hard to know what the author's intention was there.
Right. Is it a commentary on conspiracy theories? A critique of racism? Or just pure shock value?
It's a tough one.
It is.
And then the footnotes,
Don't even get me started on the footnote.
they go completely off the rails.
They contradict the text, offer alternative interpretations.
Yeah, it's like the author's having a separate conversation with the reader.
In the margins.
Yeah.
It's like they're letting us peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, see how the story's being constructed?
Exactly.
So we've got feminist warriors, philosophical piss bottles, hard-boiled detectives, absurd advice columnists, and conspiracy theories all in one chapter.
It's a lot.
And it's not even over yet.
Nope. We're about to delve even deeper into this metafictional territory. Buckle up.
So we made it through philosophical piss bottles and advice columns from hell. What's next in this crazy chapter?
Well, this is where the metafiction really goes off the deep end. Like, characters start talking to the author, the footnotes argue with the main text. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned before this character, Billy Buckley, was obsessed with frozen time.
Right. Billy Buckley, he's trying to figure out how frozen time fits in with the whole hypersphere thing.
Okay.
He throws around all these terms like homonormativity, but it's all just kind of stream of consciousness rambling. It's hard to follow.
Yeah, it's like the author's using language more for the sound and the feeling than the actual meaning.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then there's this footnote that just says, "Ah, fuck off, cunt."
Really?
Yeah, it's like the author's getting annoyed with Billy's explanations.
So even in this experimental chapter, the author's still in control.
Oh, yeah, totally. And then if this Oscar Wilde shows up.
Wait, Oscar Wilde, like the Oscar Wilde?
The one and only?
What's he doing in this book?
I have no idea. He just pops in with a one-liner about writing a poem after soiling himself, and then he's gone.
That's so random.
I know, right? It's like a little burst of absurdity just to keep us on our toes.
Yeah, like don't take any of this too seriously.
Exactly. And after Oscar Wilde disappears, we're back to the hypersphere.
Okay, so Gore Vidal and Billy Buckley, they're still trying to wrap their heads around this multi-dimensional reality.
Yeah, and they bring up some interesting points about, like, how frozen time relates to human consciousness.
Yeah, it gets pretty deep.
And then there's this mention of Morrissey, like he's apparently not a fan of the hypersphere.
Oh no, Morrissey's not happy.
Apparently not, but then things get really weird with the footnotes.
Oh yeah, the footnotes, they're like a whole separate world in this chapter.
Right. There's a sub-editor complaining about not getting paid enough, a philosopher arguing that compensation is a spook, and a legal team assuring everyone that all the payments are legit.
It's like the author's pulling back the curtain on the whole publishing process.
Yeah, exposing the machinery behind the fiction.
So after all that mind-bending chaos, how does the chapter end?
With Aelius Maximus, she's back.
Wait, really? After all that, we're back to the beginning.
Yep. She promises more adventures to come.
So it's like the author's reminding us that even with all the experimentation and metafiction, there's still a story being told.
Yeah, and it leaves us wanting more.
So that was one wild
That
chapter.
was a wild ride.
Yeah, we went from feminist warriors on Mars to philosophical piss bottles to hard-boiled detectives to Oscar Wilde making a cameo appearance.
It's a lot to process.
It is, but that's what makes this book so fascinating.
It challenges you to think differently about storytelling and reality.
Exactly. So if you're looking for a book that will make you question everything you thought you knew about fiction, Hypersphere is definitely worth checking out.
Just be prepared for a wild ride.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the unknown.